The Tau are a young yet technologically advanced Xenos race which are native to the eastern fringes of the galaxy. Of the many races known to exist within the galaxy, few can compare to the Tau in regards to just how rapidly the species managed to rise to the ranks of galactic superpower. In a span of just 5,000 to 6,000 years, the Tau would descend from a primitive society of hunter-gatherers into a prosperous interstellar empire. For comparison, it would take humanity somewhere between 25,000 to 30,000 years to accomplish a similar feat. The rapid development and expansion of the Tau Empire would come as somewhat of a shock to the Imperium of Man, as the Tau had slowly begun annexing worlds along the borders of the Imperium and integrating them into the fold of their empire. The Imperium's response to this new and upstart race was both swift and brutal, leading to a series of conflicts known as the Damocles Crusade. It was during the course of this crusade that some within the Imperium would realize that this race had been previously encountered and documented within Imperial records roughly 6,000 years earlier, although back then the Tau were described as being a primitive race that utilized rudimentary stone tools and had only recently mastered the use of fire. The homeworld of the Tau, which would also come to be known within official records as Tau, would be discovered by the Adeptus Mechanicus exploratory vessel Land's Vision, which, after dispatching a number of survey teams to the surface, had deemed the world as suitable for human colonization. Yet as the Imperium prepared to enact standard cleansing and seeding protocols upon the world in preparation for settlement, a series of warp storms would erupt throughout the Tau system, cutting the world off from the rest of the galaxy. As the Tau continued with their evolution, they would over time learn the arts of metallurgy and agriculture, allowing them to cultivate the land for farming and develop more advanced tools and weapons of war, even to the point of discovering how to create gunpowder. Over time, the various Tau tribes would come into conflict with one another, leading to what would become known within historical records as the mont'au, or Death Age. These wars would only come to an end during late M36, following the appearance of unexplained, flickering lights within the night sky and glimpses of strange, half-seen beings watching from afar, leading to the appearance of a previously undocumented type of Tau who was said to have ended the conflict with but a single word. These individuals would come to be known throughout the modern-day Tau Empire as the Ethereal Caste. With the emergence of the Ethereals, the Tau would experience a massive societal reformation, which would not only see the creation of the race's now distinctive caste system, but the Tau would begin shifting their very culture towards a philosophical concept known as the Tau Va, or Greater Good, which strive towards the betterment, advancement, and ultimately expansion of Tau society. The Tau would then experience a period of rapid and unprecedented technological growth and scientific advancement, and within only a few short millennia, the Tau would begin making their first forays into interstellar expansion and colonization. However, because of the race's absurdly fast development from Stone Age hunter-gatherers to a galactic superpower, some have suggested that the Tau Empire's rapid growth did not come about through mere luck and happenstance, but that their society and even their very evolution had been deliberately engineered and guided by outside sources. But is there any evidence to support such a seemingly outlandish notion? It is worth noting that the idea of the Tau being an artificially engineered race is not entirely without precedent, as a number of other races known to exist within the galaxy would also have their evolution and technological development guided by the hands of others. The most notable examples in this regard are that of the Eldari, the Jakero, and the Krork, the ancestors of the modern-day Orc race, which had all been created by the ancient and mysterious beings known as the Old Ones. But if the Tau had also been artificially engineered in some way, then it seems unlikely for them to be creations of the Old Ones, as the last of the Old Ones was said to have died out during the dying days of the War in Heaven, a great apocalyptic conflict waged between the Old Ones and the Necrontyr, which took place roughly 65 million years ago. Some, however, have suggested that the evolution of the Tau had been guided not by the Old Ones, but by their very creations, the Eldari. The main reason behind this particular train of thought is due to a number of traits exhibited by Tau ethereals. The ethereals are unique within Tau society in that they act as the de facto ruling class, being, for lack of a better term, first amongst equals. Indeed, whenever a member of the ethereal caste issues a command, the Tau of the other castes are compelled to obey, even if obeying such an order would result in their deaths. While the exact methods utilized by the ethereals in asserting their control over the other castes remains unknown, it has been commonly suspected to be somehow linked to a unique aspect of ethereal biology. Within the skulls of Tau ethereals, there exists a strange diamond-shaped organ which appears to be absent from the other castes. This organ is highly similar in many aspects, if not outright identical, to one found within an insectoid species known as the ko'ol, which is responsible for the production of hormonal and pheromonal fluids. This cocktail of chemicals produced by the ko'ol's body is used primarily for communication, but it is also capable of manipulating individuals that are infected with a ko'ol mind grub, allowing for a rudimentary degree of mind control and mental enslavement. While this organ may simply be the result of convergent evolution displayed by both the ko'ol and Tau ethereals, some believe that the very existence of this organ within the ethereal caste is proof of them being brought into existence through genetic engineering and artificial evolution. This is due to the fact that, according to the book Xenology, the ko'ol will become afflicted by a great plague, possibly chaotic in origin, which they had contracted from coming into contact with humans at the tail end of the 37th millennium. Having been weakened by this epidemic, the very homeworld of the ko'ol race would come under assault by an unnamed aggressor which seemed intent on utterly destroying the species. However, much to their surprise, the ko'ol would receive aid from a race that was described as being similar in appearance to humans, but with taller and more slender forms, suggesting that this race was one of the various Eldari sects. After their unnamed foe had been defeated, the Eldari would demand payment in the form of a ko'ol queen in order to make what was described as an uncorroded swarm, which some within the Inquisition have suggested to be a race which is able to resist the very powers of chaos. Offended by such a proposition, the ko'ol would terminate their alliance with the Eldari, who in response would spirit away their queen, an act that the ko'ol would never forgive the Eldari for. Thankfully for the ko'ol, however, an egg containing a queen embryo had been previously laid, allowing for their next monarch to reign supreme. Because the Eldari had spirited away a ko'ol queen, it's possible, at least from an initial standpoint, that any future eggs laid by this queen would be harvested and experimented upon in order to cultivate the pheromonal organs that are present within Tau ethereals. The idea that the Tau were created for the purpose of combating chaos does seem fairly plausible at first glance, as the Tau themselves demonstrate a fairly weak warp presence, resulting in the majority of demonic entities ignoring the souls of Tau in favour of the more potent essences of other races. If the ethereals had been artificially engineered by the Eldari, then this would explain the strange flickering lights that had preceded their arrival, as such lights could be the result of webway portals opening and closing upon the surface of the Tau homeworld, or the result of Eldari voidcraft making planetfall before returning to orbit. While the idea that the ethereal caste are the result of the Eldari's attempt at creating an uncorroded swarm utilizing ko'ol DNA is indeed an interesting one, there are several problems with this particular hypothesis. The most notable of which is in regards to when the ethereals first made their presence known in relation to when the Eldari obtained a ko'ol queen. As detailed within the 6th edition Tau Codex, the appearance of the ethereals and the subsequent end of the mont'au took place in 791 M36, whereas the events that led to the kidnapping of the ko'ol queen, as detailed within Xenology, would occur roughly 1,000 years later, taking place towards the end of M37. Because of this, it seems incredibly unlikely that the Eldari could have utilized ko'ol genetic material for the purpose of creating the diamond-shaped organ found within Tau ethereals. In addition, there is evidence to suggest that the diamond organ within ethereals, despite the many similarities shared with those demonstrated by the Ko'ol, is not actually utilized for the purpose of pheromone production. According to the book Deathwatch: Mark of the Xenos, the diamond organ sported by ethereals appears to have no biological function, suggesting that the ethereals control the other Tau cards through more esoteric means, although it is potentially possible that this particular specimen examined by the Deathwatch was either, for want of a better term, a dud, or that it had been deliberately altered in some way in order to misdirect the Imperium's efforts in better understanding the ethereal cast. If the ethereal examined by the Deathwatch was indeed not a dud, and that the cast maintains their control over the Tau through non-pheromonal means, then it's possible that during their race's prehistory, the ancestors of the ethereals simply underwent a greater degree of evolution and development during their time in isolation from the other Tau tribes, possibly to the point of evolving some form of innate telepathic ability, which in turn allowed them to influence the actions of others. While it seems unlikely that the Eldari are responsible for guiding the evolution of the Tau race, it is certainly convenient that intense warpstorm activity erupted throughout the Tau system shortly before the Imperium of Man's planned purging of the species. While it is still potentially possible that the Tau could have had their development guided by others, the reason for the Tau's rapid rise to prominence could simply be due to the fact that the Tau demonstrate a relatively short lifespan when compared to other races. According to the novel Farsight: Crisis of Faith, the natural lifespan of a Tau is around 40 years on average, although some individuals have been known to live for 60, 80, or even 90 years before dying of old age. Because the Tau will typically live shorter lives than both humans and Eldari, in conjunction with a presumably faster rate of reproduction to compensate for the reduced lifespan of the species, it's reasonable to assume that this would force the Tau to experience any evolutionary and technological developments at a much faster rate when compared to other races. The strange flickering lights that predated the arrival of the ethereals may not even signify the presence of a race of engineers, but instead could simply be some sort of meteorological or stellar phenomena. Perhaps these lights were, in actuality, the result of the various warp storms enveloping the Tau homeworld finally beginning to dissipate, and that the flickering lights were simply the stars within the night sky becoming visible to the Tau race for the first time in centuries. If this were the case, then the ethereals could have simply been an isolated Tau tribe which had a greater degree of knowledge regarding celestial events, perhaps even learning how to accurately predict when the various warp storms surrounding their world would end by studying its many currents and eddies. Regardless, the rapid technological development and galactic expansion of the Tau is undoubtedly an impressive undertaking, and to suggest that the race could have only accomplished such a feat with outside help may simply be an attempt to discredit the achievements of such a young race. But then again, perhaps the Tau did indeed receive some form of guidance during their development by the unseen hands of engineers. We may never know for certain. What do you think? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.